Have you ever felt like that you don't want to talk about something because you're ashamed of it, or because you feel like someone might not be able to keep it to themselves? Thankfully, in terms of counselling, there's something there to protect that. Hello everyone, my name is Rich Pearson. I'm a professional counsellor and psychotherapist based in Falmouth in Cornwall, and today we're going to be talking about confidentiality. Confidentiality is one of the most important aspects of any therapeutic relationship, be it therapy in terms of counselling or even in terms of anything that your doctor or any other medical professional would do. Confidentiality underpins any kind of therapeutic relationship because people deserve to have their own autonomy. People deserve to be able to discuss at their liberty the issues that they are having with themselves at their will. It's not my place to talk about what's going on in somebody else's life, especially not when we have a professional relationship. Confidentiality has a couple of caveats to it, but the most basic thing to understand is that there are almost no circumstances in which I will talk to someone else about what someone has told me in a therapeutic counselling session. Now, there are certain caveats to this where I have to talk to someone else, and these, as any counsellor will tell you, will be if they feel like that you, the client, are at risk or danger to yourself or to anybody else. There are also certain things whereby if we are given reason to believe that the client may be involved in anything to do with terrorism or money laundering, then we have an obligation to not necessarily report that straight away, but to discuss it with the client. And this is the important thing to understand. A lot of people think in terms of confidentiality, if you go and see a therapist and you say to them, I have engaged in acts of self-harm, I've hurt myself, that we will immediately press some red button and men will come in with a straitjacket and take you away. That is absolutely not what happens at all. If someone comes into a therapy room and says that they are feeling suicidal, we are not immediately going to pick up the phone and ring your parents, your spouse, or anyone else and tell them that they need to be on suicide watch or anything else like that. That's not at all how it works. If someone comes to me in a therapy session and says, I'm having some dark thoughts, I'm feeling bad about myself, then what I have to do as a therapist is to perform what is called a risk assessment. So I talk to the client, I ask them various questions about how they're feeling, how far down the road of making a kind of plan to hurt themselves or someone else that they may have gone through, and then it's my job to make a professional judgment on whether I think when the person walks out of the door they are going to be at any serious risk to themselves or to someone else. I have never had to break confidentiality. I also don't know any counsellor who I have talked to who has ever had to break confidentiality. It's a very, very rare thing to have to actually do it. And in terms of breaking confidentiality, the important thing to note as well, again, is that it doesn't mean that we, the therapist, just goes running straight to an authority figure or a family relative or someone who's close to the client or anything like that. What we do is we talk to the client. I would talk to the client and say, okay, you've given me real serious concern to believe that you may be in some kind of risk or danger, or someone else might be. Let's talk about this. Let's try and explore what we think might happen here. And then we come up with a plan and we say, okay, right, when you tell me that you're going to leave this room, you're going to go home and you're possibly going to be in danger, I then have, to some extent, a responsibility to make sure that you are not. That doesn't mean I follow you home. That means I say, right, you need to talk to someone, you need a family member close by or something like that. Or if you do go home and there is no one that you're going to be with and you literally say to me, I'm leaving here and I'm going to go home and this is what I'm going to do, then probably, yes, that's probably the point where I have to call the police and we have to make it into a serious welfare checking situation and scenario. I'm prepared to do that, I understand how to do that, and I know the lines that get crossed on the way to where I would have to pick up a phone and do that. But anything else up to the point where I believe that someone is at a risk of danger, then there is, essentially blanket confidentiality. But especially in places like where I live in Falmouth, there are about 20,000 people that live in this town. If I, went and talked to someone and said, oh, so and such and such, I had counselling with them the other day, and they told me this, that would be completely unethical, illegal, and I imagine I would be struck off the BACP register for doing such a thing. So again, with a small town like Falmouth, it's not unlikely that someone that I know might know one of my clients. There might only be one degree of separation. You shouldn't ever really give counselling to people that you directly know, because that sort of, again, makes things a little bit unethical. However, it's not unlikely at all that someone might say, oh, I've got this friend, and I might suddenly realise they're talking about one of my clients. All I can really do then is smile and nod along, because I can't, even if they're telling me things that I already know and that they've just made open knowledge, I can't tell anyone else about it. Confidentiality is a nice blanket that covers everything that we do in terms of protecting the identity and any facts about the client that we have. And it really helps the therapeutic process, because we really need to be able to encourage people to open up and not fear that anything that they say in the therapy room is going to be taken any further than that. I hope you've enjoyed this video talking about confidentiality, and I hope it's gone some way to explain a little bit more about how the therapeutic process works. If you like these videos, please subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow for the next video. Thanks very much.